Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience, heard proudly on Talk Radio 77 WABC. We and many others like to call it the crown jewel of radio, the iconic 77 Talk Radio WABC, beaming out of New York City, the nation, the world, and I'm sure the cosmos. Heard in 173 countries and all 50 states. And more on the Dr. Sky Experience and other great programs and podcasts at WABCRadio.com and Red Apple Audio Networks. As we move through time and space, welcome to month number 9, September 2024. An exciting month in store as we begin this particular episode. We begin with Earth's nearest neighbor, the moon, and find out that new moon occurred on the 3rd of September. We call it the dark of the moon, and in the technical language, this is the beginning of lunation number 1258, counting down lunar lunations since around the year 1923. The moon then moves rapidly on to first quarter on the 11th as the moon continues to wax in our skies. And it builds up, in my opinion, to one of the most beautiful of all full moons of the entire year. How about a supermoon as we move on to the 17th of September? This one, the full super harvest moon. And ladies and gentlemen, if you look back in history, the harvest moon has great significance. Why? As it's a precursor to the beginning of the September equinox, which then occurs on the 22nd. But much more on that in weeks to come on future editions of the Dr. Sky Experience. The moon then moves on to its last quarter phase by the 24th, and it's quite interesting here on the Dr. Sky Experience that we do talk about the moon. And why? Because it's an easy object for many of you out there that are, let's say, beginners. A pair of binoculars will show you some detail on the moon to learn the great moon map and the great lunar seas that are on the visible face of the moon, plus craters and so much more. And we find out in the telescope the view can be quite outstanding. But one more bit of information on the beautiful, full, super harvest moon of September the 17th. There will actually be, for many portions of North America and other parts of the world, a very thin and very short-lived partial lunar eclipse. And again, much more on that in future iterations of this program. For planets, we find out that the planet Mercury reaches its greatest elongation in the morning sky by September the 5th. That can be seen some 18 degrees away from the rising sun and easy to see with the naked eye. Remember, Mercury, the closest planet to the sun, can be difficult to find and see because it never gets farther away from the sun by about 27 degrees. We move on and continue to learn about the planet Venus. As we mentioned in previous programs, the planet Venus is now moving into the evening sky, and sky watchers should look with clear and hopefully a treeless horizon. You'll get to see the goddess of love and beauty herself as she pops her head up, getting higher and higher into her September skies, right in the western part of the sky. Then we find out something equally impressive. The original ring planet, we call it Saturn. Why? Its discovery a long time ago. Galileo observed it and thought there were two lobes next to it. He didn't realize they were rings. He thought they were two moons. But we find out that the planet Saturn, how about this, comes to opposition, meaning it's at its best for the entire year on the evening of September the 8th. Now, if you take a look with the naked eye, you won't see any rings or any detail. But if you have a small telescope, get set for this. Every 15 years or so, the planet Saturn and the Earth line up that we move through the ring plane. So it's like holding your hand with all your fingers stretched out wide and open, and then try it when you move your hand horizontally, the thinnest part of your hand, so be it with the rings of Saturn. So a telescope, more powerful, will reveal some of that, and that's quite a fascinating sight. The planet Saturn, a planet that, ladies and gentlemen, when you see it, is about 800 million miles away from your eye, and if you could travel to it on a light beam, imagine that. Traveling at 670 million miles an hour, the speed of light, you would get from the Earth to the planet Saturn in a little over 70 minutes. Well, that's a dream. Then we find out as we move out and beyond into the solar system, beyond the planet Earth, we find out that in the morning sky, two planets are easily seen before sunrise, and that is pretty much in the east. We find the planet Mars, the red god of war, getting closer to the Earth and a little bit brighter. A telescope won't reveal much detail at this time, but the opposite is true of the next planet, the planet Jupiter. Jupiter, Zeus, the god of gods, the planet itself is so amazing and so interesting to see. All you need to do is look into that east-northeast sky just before sunrise or a little earlier, let's say even by 3:30 or 4 a.m. local time. And yes, even in a pair of binoculars, you can recreate the experiment that Galileo claims to have done back on January 7th of the year 1610. What did he do? He and his crude telescope observed 3 of the now famous Galilean moons. All 4 of them are visible at times: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And now today in modern science, a spacecraft will be heading toward Europa because many believe that underneath the icy surface of Europa, there may be seas that harbor primitive life of billions and millions of years ago. Quite an interesting sight. And we find out, folks, that if you want to look for close conjunctions of planets, you can find out that by the 23rd of September in the morning sky, the moon is close to Jupiter, makes for a beautiful sight. And then on the 25th of September, the moon is close to the planet Mars in the sky. These are simply called conjunctions. For dark sky observers, don't forget, if you're away from the city lights and have a beautifully clear sky, that would occur. There are 2 big windows to do this without moonlight, starting from around September the 3rd up into including about the 10th. And then as we move past last quarter moon, probably around the 25th to the end of the month of September. What am I talking about? In dark moonless skies, as the sun sets, the Milky Way scans literally overhead in the sky, moving from the northeast, from Perseus, Cassiopeia, overhead the constellation Cygnus, deep in the Milky Way, and moving to the southwest, the heart of the Milky Way, in Sagittarius, and the now setting constellation of Scorpius. Trust me on this, folks. This is a most magnificent sight with the naked eye, and much better in a pair of binoculars. And with all the high technology of smartphones, you might even be able to capture the Milky Way as easy as it is by pushing a button on your smartphone. To get in touch with me, Dr. Sky, and the Dr. Sky Experience, we welcome that. The email is drskyshow@gmail.com. That's DRSKY show@gmail.com. And proudly part of Talk Radio 77 WABC, thanking John Catsimatidis and family for having me here every Sunday on his popular show around the nation and the world, the Cats Roundtable, as we talk about so many of these great news events from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather. And then every other Wednesday at 1 a.m. local East Coast time, I'm joined with Frank Morano, and he has me on his program. And for that 1 hour, we change it from The Other Side of Midnight to Cosmic Conversations with me, Dr. Sky. As we always say, and we mean it, always remember to keep your eyes to the skies, clear skies, health, and happiness, as I continue to earn the opportunity to be your navigator on the shows on the highway to the heavens, a highway, at least now, ladies and gentlemen, that has no tolls, and an opportunity to open our minds and expand our senses on what goes on beyond planet number 3, on the pale blue dot that Carl Sagan called the Earth, and imploring all of us to at least to try to get along as we move through this interesting year. Have a good week.